Hey there YouTube, Hopper here. It's Sunday, April 17th, and I was recently asked on YouTube a very good question. It was from someone who had saw a video I posted a while back about my typical day here at Drexel, and that was something I shot in the winter term, and it's now the spring term. So rather than just answer their questions, I thought all of you who are interested in Drexel and my life here might want to know the answer to it, so this is a follow-up video. So one of the first things I'm going to go ahead and do is give you a little bit of peek of what housing is like here for freshmen. For freshmen it ranges from pretty dingy to pretty great. Well, my answer is a bit biased, since it's going to obviously be the dorm that I live in. A lot of people do agree with me on this decision, excuse me, that in terms of housing, one of the best things that you can do, if it's an option for you, if your major or college offers it, is by all means join a learning community. Most of them are housed in Myers, which is where I am. I'm in the iSchools learning community. The only exception that I know of this is architecture, who I believe is housed in North. But by all means, if you're offered a learning community, some of the colleges here at Drexel will even pay for you to be in the learning community. The iSchool actually is paying a good chunk of my housing right now because I am in the learning community. So in addition to being a really great financial perk, it's a really great experience because you will learn a lot of people, and in your learning community typically they're people who are all in your same major and all share the same interests to you. And even if they don't, I mean, you can still mingle with people. In fact, there are people from other dorms and from other floors here in Myers that usually on a pretty frequent basis come up to my floor, to my hall. There's the group of us here who are all friends, and some of the people are not IT or IS majors. They're like nursing majors. In fact, one of the guys next to me is not at all IT or IS. Actually, I think both of them are not now. But you can still talk with people. You can still have a great conversation, and the learning communities are definitely a good start of how to you know, make friends, get engaged with people. And if you make friends from other colleges and majors, typically they'll ask you to sign into Myers. In fact, one guy we signed in so much that one of the people in my learning community is actually considering getting a name stamp rather than having to fill out by hand every time they come in. So if you do have the learning community, definitely get that. And the other thing I will say to do is hope, pray, do animal sacrifices, whatever. But by all means, try to get on the 3rd floor, because on the 3rd floor, if you're in at least part of it, there's a couple rooms that don't have this perk, but we have like the greatest perk ever with housing if you're on the 3rd floor. And this right here is it. It's a loft. Myers was never actually built to be permanent housing. It was meant to be temporary, so it's built quite a bit differently from the other freshman housing. And one of the perks we get is we have a cathedral ceiling, so on the 3rd floor you get this loft where you, all of your stuff that you've brought in, all the boxes, just throw it up there and you won't have to deal with it. Beds, you do get a bit of space. This is what the bottom or underneath mine looks like. But definitely, 3rd floor learning community is the way to go. So, since I haven't eaten yet, even though it is 4 o'clock, I got up kind of late because I was busy doing stuff yesterday. I'm going to give you a little peek at Myers. I'm not going to show you all of it, obviously for privacy concerns, but like how my first video was, my typical day, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk down to the Hans, and I probably won't be able to cover everything that I want to talk about, you know, in one shot, so I'll probably do another one as I'm coming back. I might do a detour coming back. But one thing I do want to point out is some dorms do have a towel rack. Myers does not. So this is my towel rack. You may want to consider investing in one. Most of the rooms do have a mirror on the back of the door. Your door does have a deadbolt, so it does lock. You also have a campus safety sticker. Don't deface it. If you do, you're up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. Oh, another thing. in Myers and some other dorms. We have a bay window, so you get a little bit of space there. Gotta lock my door here. So here in Myers, I'm in the internal rectangle. So this is what my hall looks like. It's just like a straight shot down. There are common rooms at either end, rather. It's like this is one here. There's plenty of stairwells. This is one of them. So another thing we have is a courtyard. We're the only dorm that has it. So this is, yes, one of many stairwells here in Myers. In Myers, we do not have an elevator. Well, we have one. It's a freight one, so it's keyed because we're only 3 floors. So if you're on the 3rd floor, get used to the stairs because they will become your friend. Well, not really. I hate stairs, but regardless, you're going to have to trek up the stairs. So this is our courtyard here. We're the only dorm that has this, and it's really nice when it's warm. We've got some bike parking. This is what we call a tutor lounge. It's kind of a multi-purpose lounge where you can study. Through there is our multi-purpose room that has a TV. So there's like picnic tables in here, and there's even tables that have a built-in board for like checkers and chess. We've got 2 fire pits, which at the front desk you can ask to use them. And yes, I realized I just shot a good deal of the floor and my feet, but you know, privacy is a concern. So one of the things we've got going up here, which was in my previous video, is we've got what's called the Library Learning Terrace. It's pretty much a glorified study space, but as you can see now, this is slightly more finished. It's actually a bit smaller than I personally expected it to be, and it's definitely a lot smaller than some of the concept arts looked like it. Nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see that. That should be done in like a couple of weeks. So yeah, housing here at Drexel ranges from either really sucky to really good. For freshmen, you're definitely going to have the least favorable of options, but you know, it's okay. After freshman year, you can of course move off campus, and if you do, there are some resources here at Drexel to help you with that. You know, Drexel, to some extent, does actually recommend and support students who do go off campus for housing, because it is typically cheaper. But one of the big things to worry about, because you are in the city, is safety. So you are going to have to worry about, you know, an area that is safe but won't bust your wallet. If you do have a pretty fat wallet, there are plenty of apartments around campus, but some of them will indeed bust your wallet for a month. In fact, some of them are more expensive than actually living here on campus, but totally up to you if you decide to do that. So in regards to professors, I guess now, professors, like any other college, university, grade school, high school, whatever, they'll range from, oh my god, you just want to get over and done with the class, to you'll like really want to get to know the professor and really want to be like friends with them. So now that it is summer, the fields here are used a bit more. But yeah, professors here, you know, they're either going to really suck or you're really going to want to have them again for a second term. So, you know, in regards to like how clear they are, how fast they move through topics, that really ranges from professor to professor. So one of the things that I recommend doing is, you know, since we are a university, there are like resources online to like search for your professor, see what their performance rating is like. But For the most part, they're pretty good. I've only had a few professors that I did not like, but for the most part, they're great. And yeah, definitely try to become friends with your professor, because if you ever need like a favor, if you're on really good terms with your professor, chances are you can get that favor and you can get it pretty quick. But yeah, professors are typically busy, but you know, if you're on really good terms with one and this is something that you really need, typically they will help you out. A lot of professors do have open door policies, so a lot of them are very supportive, very friendly, very helpful. So since I'm passing it now, this is actually the reason I came here to Drexel. This is the Rush building, which is home to the I School, which is the College of Information Science and Technology. I'm an IT major, and the reason why I personally decided to come to Drexel is that here at Drexel, the I School is a small school. I think there's only like a couple hundred of us in there, and for freshmen there's maybe like 50 of us. But you know, it's great. It's a small college inside a really large university. Like, there's one of the media arts buildings. Like, there's one of the business buildings. No, with the I School, we just have one building, and that's it. So we're a small community, which is really what I personally was looking for when I went, you know, college shopping. And so we're the small community, but we're also a large enough community, you know, that you can still meet people. You can still, by all means, mingle with people and make friends and whatnot. So it's great because it's small, but also large enough that you will meet people, and you're also in a large university, so you'll still meet plenty of people beyond your major, you know, easily. And it's definitely something I recommend doing. One of the things that's great about Drexel is even if someone's not in your major, chances are you can have a conversation with them, and you can have a pretty lively one. And if, you know, you're kind of looking to get to know additional cultures, like people from around the world, it's extremely easy to do. We're a incredibly diverse campus in terms of culture, the ethnicity. We've got people from all over the world here. Occasionally, that being said, you will hit, you know, language and cultural barriers, but for the most part, you can have a conversation with anyone here on campus, no matter where they come from. And it's really a great experience. You get to meet a ton of people. You really can broaden your views on the world just by talking to people here at Drexel. We also do, of course, have study abroad programs and also co-op abroad. I haven't gone through the program yet, so I don't know what it's like, but it's definitely something that Drexel heavily pushes. In fact, I'll show you the building where that's housed in just a moment. So now that we're past Insomnia Cookies, hopefully you can hear me by now. Also an update on the Integrated Sciences building. This definitely looks a lot more finished, I know, since my first take. It's coming along very nicely. In fact, they're actually blocking off part of the sidewalk for a while they can finish it. But this is the Intercultural Center. This is where study abroad is housed. So yeah, you can pop in here. They have an office in here where you can get like information about programs. You can of course look them up online. If you like just Google Drexel Study Abroad, it should bring you to the office. If you go into the office and you want to talk to someone, you definitely should make an appointment because they are a very busy office. But yeah, it's definitely something that Drexel does recommend. It's something I would love to do while I'm still here at Drexel, but I don't know if I'll get around to it. So in terms of the neighborhood where we are, University City is a pretty safe neighborhood. That doesn't entirely mean that we aren't without like crime and whatnot, but for the most part we're a pretty safe neighborhood, and there's plenty of resources and stuff around here. Since we do share a campus with UPenn, which if you come here for freshman orientation or like open house, they'll show you this corner of Penn. This is Penn that we're about to cross onto. Penn is a lot more, it's considerably larger than just this corner. In fact, Penn goes on for literally miles. It's a huge, huge campus, and you can totally use it to your advantage. There's a lot of resources actually on Penn, like shops and stuff, that even as a Drexel student you can go to, and very helpful, very nice. But you will find yourself going into Center City a fair bit as well. But if you do decide to do that, it's really easy to do so because of our location again here at Drexel. SEPTA is very close by at 34th Street. We have the Market Frankford Line subway station, and that runs west from 69th Street all the way up to east and partially north to the Frankfurt Transportation Center. And then that also runs through 15th Street, where there's Broad Street Station, where you can, or 15th Street Station, where you can pick up the Broad Street line, and that runs south all the way down to AT&T parks, like the baseball fields, stuff like that, and up north to, I believe, Ferns Rock. I'm not sure what's up there. But regardless, getting around here is very easy. One of the things I did for a weekend is I took a friend to go to the Pokemon Black and White mall tour, and that was up in Franklin Mills. It took us an hour, but we got there, and it was pretty cheap. It's just 2 tokens. It was a subway ride and a bus ride, but yeah, I mean, if you want to get somewhere, you definitely can because of where we are, even without a car. And if you do have a car, it gets really expensive really fast because this is the city, so parking does come at a luxury. And then also at 30th Street, there's 30th Street Station, which has Amtrak run through it, so that'll take you all over the country. And there's also SEPTA, which connects up to New Jersey Transit. So yeah, transit is definitely not an issue. And I am now here at Hans, and this is also, I think, 15 minutes long. So I'll start up in another take to further my thoughts on life here at Drexel in a bit. So that's it for now. Alright, so now that I have finally eaten for the first time today, that door's stuck again, back to my thoughts on Drexel. So here, this is the Cree Student Center. I personally don't go in it very often. It's kind of more for like commuter students. So yeah, if you're a commuter student, there are resources for you here at Drexel. Like this is one of them. In fact, in the basement of the Cree Student Center is the commuter lounge. There's like a computer lab down there, plenty of tables and chairs, like a TV. So there's a couple things for there to do. I can't really speak on behalf of commuters because I'm not one, obviously. I live in a dorm. But there are resources here for commuters. So, you know, no matter what you are here at Drexel, if you're a resident on campus or off campus, if you're a commuter, an international student, there are resources just to support you. There's a department for all of those things that I just mentioned. In fact, they're probably all different departments. So I'm going to take a bit of a detour, getting back to my dorm to give you like an idea. So yeah, this is really how close we are to Center City. We're literally just a couple blocks out. In fact, that's Center City right there. It's something you can really see all the time. Like here's a SEPTA bus station or shelter. So yeah, getting around here, pretty easy to do. It's ridiculously easy to do. If you want to go somewhere when you're not busy here at Drexel, it's really easy to do. You can take the train, you can bike, you can take a bus, the subway, you know, really whatever floats your boat, you can get around. So over here, this is the main building. This is probably the only original, you know, building that still exists from when we were first established, and it's actually a really neat building. One of the things that I like is on the 3rd floor of the main building we have what's called like the HA picture gallery, and there's a hallway leading up to that where Drexel has like the Drexel archives. That's actually in the library. There's also like the Drexel collection, which is kind of like our own private museum, so it's really neat. You can go see like stuff from all around the world without even leaving campus. So that's one thing that I really like. I mean, if you want to go to a museum, by all means, you can go to a museum. It's ridiculously easy to get to a museum. It takes SEPTA. And one of the things that is nice about SEPTA is like everything's a token for one way, which is the equivalent of about like $2. You just pop a token in the turnstile, go through to what you need to do. And there's like free interchanges to a lot of things. So like if you need to go, say, northeast, hop on the Market Frankfurt at 34th, or hell, even take the trolley. We get trolley routes 10, 11, 13, 34, and 36 here. So trolleys are actually really the way really to go around here to get to like Center City, because those actually come in a lot more often than the subway. The subway is about every 8 minutes on the weekends when it's not in rush hour. On the weekdays rather. On the weekends it's about every 10 minutes. Trolley, I don't really know what the frequency is. There's just so many routes that they just come and go. So some other buildings to point out that I don't think I've really pointed out before. This is the Basone building. Connected to it is the main building. There's also CAT behind there, which is the Center for Automation Technology, and the LeBeau building. So if you're an engineering student, you'll probably be in that area. There's U-Cross. I believe the Department of Computer Science has some things in there. Another thing is security on campus. There's plenty of it. This is a call box, which of course has a camera on top of it, which just spins around. So like at night, if you ever feel you're being followed or you just want like an escort, go up to any call box and just hit the button. And public safety's response time is pretty good. Your call will get connected in like a matter of seconds, and within 5 minutes someone will be there to get you. The thing that they recommend is that if you are being followed, just literally walk along a path where there's call boxes and just hit the emergency button, because when you do, all the cameras in the area spin around to look at where that call's been placed. So eventually they'll probably be able to take a hint, and regardless, they can usually figure out where you're going to be walking, so they'll just meet up with you. There's another building to point out here. This is Disc Hall. It's connected to Stratton. This is the physics and biology building, I believe. This is Matheson. This is probably one of the last few looks you'll get at Matheson. This thing is going boom at the end of the year, and I'm not even kidding. They're tearing it down and they're putting up a brand new state-of-the-art building as to what is the academic quad, which is this, by the way. I don't know, because it is going to be a big building. One of the things that is going to be kind of weird is it is going to be like a combination of triangle and rectangle. So I'm hoping the triangular part will just go here. They'll bump that out and keep that. But if it goes into the quad, oh well. So this is the quad again. That's Stratton over there, Integrated Sciences building in McAllister. This is a fountain that will probably turn back on in the summer. I don't know when it goes back on. When it is on, it's really neat, because one of the things we have is these are multicolor LEDs. So when the water comes out, it comes right out of that. So the water is like all different crazy colors. This is the Corman Center here. If my history serves me right, that was previously Drexel's library. It's now home to Information Resources and Technology, which is IT. So if you have a problem with your computer, you can bring it there. They'll try to like troubleshoot it, help you out. So in regards to technology on campus, we're pretty good with technology. One of the things I definitely recommend doing, if you're a prospective student, if you've been accepted or you're thinking of applying, definitely visit the IRT's website, which is drexel.edu/IRT. By the way, here's Pearl Stein with Starbucks, my personal friend. And on their website, you'll find a bunch of resources about how technology is here on campus. As a student, you get a lot of student discounts, so there's a page dedicated specifically for, like how to buy a computer and get a student discount on it, what kind of software you might want to invest in. So in fact, two pieces of software that you do not want to get before coming here to Drexel is you do not want to get Microsoft Office, either for Mac or PC. Drexel will actually provide it to you free of charge, so that'll save you about like $140 upwards. The other thing you do not want to buy is any sort of antivirus program. I know if you're a PC, you probably think I'm nuts, but do not, because IRT provides you with Symantec or Norton antivirus, whatever the heck you want to call it. I personally call it a pain in the ass. But regardless, it is something that you do have to put on your computer before you connect it up to Drexel's Ethernet network, which in the dorm is called ResNet, which is fantastic. It's a gigabit backbone, so you get really good download and upload speeds. The wireless, not so much. We do have quite a bit of infrastructure for wireless network, but it's not nearly as good as our hardwired network. In fact, there are some spots around campus where you're actually going to get a dead zone where you can't get signal at all. And even when you can get on, like, here's one of the places where it specifically sucks, the library. During midterms and finals week, the library is absolutely packed and the internet is totally overloaded, so even if you bring your own Ethernet cord or borrow one of theirs, which is one thing you can do, from the library you can borrow a ton of stuff. You can borrow headphones, you can borrow a laptop, you can borrow a surge protector, Ethernet cord, all kinds of stuff for our, intervals. But in terms of getting on the internet in the library, some days you get lucky, some days you don't. It's usually the busiest place. So depending on your major, you'll probably have like your own private computer lab. Like I know for me as an IT student, we have the iCommons, which is a great little lab. We've got a series of PCs in there, and there's a couple Macs in the back. There's also a conference room, which you can totally reserve if you're an iSchool student. The one thing that does suck about that conference room is if you want to, study with a group of people or something, and they're not an iSchool student, you can't bring them in because they won't get past the front desk, because at the front you do have to swipe in, your card to get in. So you know what? Since I'm right here, I'm going to go up to the top of the parking garage to kind of give you a top-down view of campus and explain a little bit more about each part. We're a moderate-sized campus. We've got two campuses. There's the University City campus. There's also Center City, which getting to is really easy. Monday through Friday, we have a shuttle bus that will take you to campus, or Center City campus, rather. Come on. Oh, hell. Nope. That's another thing you'll find out about Drexel pretty quick, is the way you'd think you'd get into a building is not actually the way you get into the building at all. I'll take the next one, don't worry about it. That is one thing that you will learn pretty quickly, is that we do have a system called the Dragon card, which is an RFID card, which you do use to scan into a lot of buildings, like the library. You have to use it for. You also have to use it to get into your dorm. And of course the damn elevator doesn't want to work right now. So take this however far this will get me up. But yeah, parking, since this is the parking garage, there's a pay per space thing. So like if your family comes out, I believe it's like a $7 flat rate if they can get a parking space. If they can't, there's of course street parking. Street parking, be careful with that, because PPA, will nail you pretty fast if you're late. Let's go with that. Let's see if this will send me up to the roof so I can explain to you, from a top-down perspective what campus is like. Alright, I am getting up to the roof. But, so yeah, with parking, there's street parking over by the dorms. There's some free parking. That's really a game of cat and mouse. You either get it or you don't. So another thing we have here is this is Drexel Bike Share. With your Dragon card, you can rent out a bike for like the day or so. How many you love, it's yours for a set amount of time. To explain like how we are from a top-down perspective, this of course is Market Street, as I'm sure you're well aware of by now from other videos that I've done with here. And again, really, we're literally like just a couple minutes outside of Center City, so if you're bored with nothing to do, if it's the weekday, take the Drexel shuttle. That'll drop you off at 15th and Race. That'll point you about 3 blocks north of City Hall. So since it's free with your tuition, you can't beat the price. Because SEPTA is, of course, a token. So this is the recreation center. I actually honestly don't really use it much, but there's like a series of like, we've got an indoor track. Over here, this little bump out is actually our climbing wall, and that's right above the landmark Americana restaurant, which is not really affiliated with Drexel. That's a private thing. So if you're a student, you can use Dragon dollars or dining dollars there if you want to. You'll burn through them pretty fast. In the distance here, this checkered building is one of the buildings that Drexel's bought. That's the Urban Center. That will eventually become a media arts building. And down here is Lancaster Walk. There's the Hess Laboratories. I'm not sure what that is. That's probably something for engineering. 7-Eleven on the corner. As to why that's not a Wawa, I don't know. But Lancaster Avenue, you can go up a couple blocks and be safe. There's like some pizza places up there like Ads and Savas, which are pretty reasonably priced, and the food is pretty good. So this big dome here is the deck that's got some more recreational courts in there as well. So you know, if you like to work out, definitely use the rec center. It's there. You're paying for it with your tuition, obviously, so definitely I would take advantage of it. So since I'm up here, the blue stairs down there, that's the subway station, which again will take you pretty much wherever you want to go. It's really easy to use. I'll walk around to this side to show you what the trolley looks like. The trolley and the buses, the things you have to watch out for that are, of course, the route numbers. If you don't know the system, I would not hop on just any old random bus, because you don't know where it'll take you. But, yep. So, actually I can't see it because the library blocks the view, but right down there would be the trolley 30th Street station. I think you can just get a view of it. It's the old building there with the series of windows. That's it there. So that's got Amtrak and SEPTA in it, so that makes it really easy to get around, which is nice. So I'll show you some of the things that we have access to with UPenn. UPenn, since they've been around longer than us, they've got a ton of shops on there. So like if you just need to get like detergent or something, by all means you can go into the city. Kmart at the gallery is probably the place to go. But there is also a CVS here, so like if you need to fill a prescription or anything like that, you can do that, because there is the CVS pharmacy, which is behind UPenn's. Also, if you're spiritual, if you have a religion or anything, there's the Intercultural Center for you. I'm not religious, so I don't really use that building. But Drexel isn't like a college where we're geared towards a specific religion. Like I said, we've got people here from all over the world, so you can really, you know, be of whatever nationality, without for ethnicity. God, I can't talk today. Ethnicity, screw it. Race or religion, whatever. We don't discriminate. You know, if you are discriminated against, we do, of course, have compliance hotlines, which every quarter you do get an email about, where if you think someone is violating, like, rules and regulations, you know, things like that. You can report it anonymously. They will take care of it. Another thing there's like the peer counseling hotline. And one of the other things that I really love is our president, President Fry, who's our 14th president officially as of Friday, actually. He was interim president up until then. He really will listen to student concerns. What he has is he's got what's called office hours, which he holds every Friday afternoon. It's on a first come, first serve basis. You can go either as an individual or a group, and you can just tell it to them straight. You know, what are you concerned about? Is there something on campus that you think needs improvement? Are you having a problem with something? Like, do you think the food sucks? Are elevators terrible? Which, for the record, a couple of them are. So if you don't like elevators, take the stairs. I like the elevators. I haven't really had a problem with them. Some of them are bumpy, some scrape and stuff. But for the most part, we keep decent care of them. But oh yeah, that's the other thing is if you have a disability, either physically or mentally or anything like that, we have what's called the Office of Disability Services, which, if you need them, they are great. They are fantastic. They are really there for you. Although I think they're only there Monday through Friday, so on the weekend you might be on your own. But for the most part, they're incredibly helpful. I haven't had to use them because I don't have a disability. My roommate, though, does, so he's used them. I know there's professors that have it, that have used them, and everybody that has needed to use them, I've heard good things about them. So if you have any sort of disability, go to them. There's some paperwork that you'll have to put in, like if you need special accommodations for a class. I've heard that they're very accommodating, so if that's something you need, that's something you don't need to worry about. But yeah, you know, really on the campus, everything's pretty positive. There are, of course, some negatives. Like there are things you'll get frustrated with every now and then. University housing, you know, for the most part is pretty good, but there are times where they will kind of screw you over in various fashions, whether it's with housing or like a charge for something. Like one thing that I know of from this year's in North Hall, they had a problem where a lot of the emergency exit signs were getting broken, and since they couldn't figure out who did it, they charged the entire dormitory for it, which, needless to say, pissed off a couple people who were not responsible for it. So, you know, some days you kind of get lucky with it, some days you don't. But for the most part, you know, if there's any problems you have with administration, they'll listen. One of the things that I had a problem with was the Starbucks here on campus. Was pretty disgraceful a while back, but I complained about it, and they actually listened to it. So, you know, if you do have complaints about campus, they won't get fixed immediately, but for the most part they will. For the most part, the staff here is very supportive if you have any concerns about anything like that. Theft, you know, like crime, for the most part is pretty reasonable. We are in the city, so, you know, so long as you're not stupid, you'll be alright. If you have a laptop, don't leave it unattended. You know, lock it, don't let it out of your sight, all that good stuff. Because really that is what our #1 most reported crime is theft of laptop. Because people were stupid and weren't paying attention and just left it out, and it's basically a way of saying, hey, come take me. My owner obviously doesn't care. So I think I'll continue to detour along here. So again, this is the rec center. If you are a Drexel student, it's free to use. If you're alumni or staff, you do have to pay a membership fee, but I hear it's not really all that much. So that being said, if you are a Drexel alumni, there are plenty of resources for you as well that I've heard of. I'm not an alumni, so I can't entirely vouch for, but from what I hear, you know, even if you're an alumni, even if you're not here like anymore physically, still a very supportive thing. Like, I know, for example, the high school which I belong to, one of the things they do is they regularly have like alumni outings. We'll go to like a Phillies game or something. So yeah, again, here's the Rush building, which I really love. This is Lancaster Walk. I'm totally walking on the grass right now because they're still tearing down a bit from Fry's inauguration. So in fact, let me go into the Rush building's garden to further my thoughts. So yeah, I mean, you know, Drexel's not paying me to give all these positive things. There are, of course, some negative things about it. You know, since I probably should have elaborated on this more when I started with it, the food here on campus ranges from your typical cafeteria food, where it's like you're eating cardboard, all the way up to it's really great. It really depends on the day. On the weekends, it's usually not as great. On the weekdays, it's pretty good, especially since second term. Since second term, we introduced a station that's called Passports, and that's really nice because what they do is they regularly change their menu, and you get like cuisines from around the world, that kind of thing. So again, this is the alumni garden here at the Rush building. This is, you know, actually open to all students. You don't just have to be an high school student to come here and sit, you know, relax, get your work done. On the off chance that Dragonfly, which is our wireless network, is working, you can, of course, just come here, sit, do your work, which is really nice on a beautiful day, because we do obviously have tables. We've also got balconies where you can sit and work as well, because there's table and chairs up there. Might have to be an high school student to get up there, I'm not entirely sure. Practically, if the door's open, you can get in. So that's another thing, like, no matter what your major is, you don't usually have to swipe into it to get into a building of another major. Like, you know, for obvious reasons, like, you can be maybe an IT major and you can have like a math class or a science class, and you're obviously going to have to get into one of those buildings. Just go on in. There are obviously major specific things, like again, here at the iSchool we have the I-Commons. If you're not an iSchool student, which means if you're not IT-IRS, or I think we've got like medical librarian, a bunch of other majors, then you of course can't get in. And you can't see it right now, but that series of windows there, that is the I-Commons, which again is a great resource. One of the things that I love about that is that as an iSchool student, you get free printing, which is really nice, because if you go to the library, it's pay per page. There's also the Drexel Copy Center, which I believe is also pay per page. You can of course bring your own printer, you know, to campus in your dorm, set it up and whatnot. IRT doesn't have a problem with that. As to if it's a wireless printer, you are probably going to want to hardwire it for a couple of reasons. A, you probably won't be able to get onto our network in the first place, because to get onto the wireless network, apart from guest, you do have to authenticate with what's called your Drexel One ID, which is usually your initials and a 2 or 3 digit number tacked on the end and a password. And use that to get into a lot of the web resources here, like Drexel One, which is like the online portal, which has all sorts of resources like online housing, the career center, your grades, registration, all that good stuff. So that's an important thing to get, and that is something you'll have to use a lot. So obviously don't lose that. The other thing you don't want to lose is your Dragon card. This is what it looks like. It's your wonderful mugshot from student orientation, your name, your status minus student. I think if you're a medical student, you get that printed on there. The thing here with the numbers is every year you have to get your card revalidated, which so I hear is actually just a sticker, which basically just says, hey, you're still, you know, full-time student or student of the university, at least anyway. The other thing you don't want to lose is your dorm key. This is mine. If you lose it, there are some policies. At Drexel we have our lockout policy, where you get 2 freebies I believe, per term, where you get a key to your dorm for 24 hours. Hopefully you find your key within that amount of time, but after the 24 hours you have to return it to the front desk of your dorm. If you can't find your key, then you do have to pay to get it replaced, and that fee can get pretty hefty, up into the hundreds of dollars, because you have to pay to get your key replaced, your roommate's keys, and they actually change the entire lock to your door. So for freshmen, if you're in standard living, you know, where it's just a two-person room, it's fairly cheap. I think it's about $75. But if you're in like a six-person suite in North, that's going to be a lot more expensive, because you're the one that gets to fork out the cost for 6 keys, the new lock to the suite, and the new lock to each individual bedroom. Yes, that's right. For upperclassmen, you have to deal with 2 keys, the one into your suite and the one into your bedroom, and if you lose either, well, SOL, you got to pay for all of them to get changed out for security reasons, obviously. But apart from that, if you're responsible, you should be fine. One of the things that does kind of suck about freshman housing that I know of, there's the one video I have up here on YouTube where in Myers we get fire alarms quite a lot, because people do set off the smoke alarms quite a lot. So yeah, quite a lot, which I've said quite a lot now. You will find yourself interrupted from work in your dorm, because the fire alarm will start going off. Best hope that it's not in the early hours of the morning. I've heard a couple instances where that has happened. Some other things that I have heard around campus is that in the Ray Street residence halls, on one of the lower levels where the freshmen were, a sewage pipe burst, so there was some pretty massive water damage, and if any of your stuff does get water damaged, it is not Drexel's responsibility. If you actually take the time to read your housing contract carefully, which by all means you should do, you'll find that if there's any water damage, fire damage, smoke, whatever, to your property in your dorm, you know, if it's stolen, any of that, it's not Drexel's responsibility. It is on you, because when you sign the contract, you say that, you know, you release them from any damage charges like that, because you have renter's insurance. So if your stuff in your dorm does get damaged by water, God forbidding that you do have a sewage line burst on you, that's your problem. If you don't have renter's insurance, it does obviously suck. As to if I personally have it or not, I don't know. I'm hoping I do. I haven't had anything happen to my stuff though. But so yeah, you know, there are definitely some good things here about campus, and some things that could use improvement. But again, as I've said before, if there is things that you do need improvement, you know, President Fry, he's got his office hours. You can go tell it to him straight. Tell him what you're concerned about. And he'll probably give you the contact information for who you should get in touch with. And then it is on you, you know, to go contact the person that it gives you the information for. Because, you know, he's a busy guy, so he's not going to do everything himself. And as a university student, you, of course, should be responsible enough, and that you do follow up with your own concerns and things like that. But, yeah, staff here is very willing to listen. Professors, you know, they're willing to listen too. A lot of them have office hours. One of the things that you do, I know campus-wide, at the end of each term for the iSchool, we have midterm and end-of-term evaluations for professors, where basically you say, you know, all right, how's this professor's performance? Because the university does care, and you can rate them anywhere from they're great to they're not so great, that yes, what I expected in the course was delivered, or no, it was not, and if that's a good thing or not, you can specify that. For the iSchool, all of ours are online, so it'll give you a list of the things that were supposed to be covered in the course, and you rate that individually as to how well you think it did happen or not. For the rest of campus, at the end of the term, You'll have a paper sheet that usually is like double-sided, and it's a series of multiple choice and extended answer where you rate your professor, and then one representative for the class will collect them into a manila envelope and deliver them to the department. So, anytime you rate a professor through at least an official university rating evaluation form, it is fully confidential. Your professor does see them, but they do not see your name. The reason they're giving it to the professors is so the professors obviously know how they're doing, if they're doing their job or not. The other thing is, there's like all sorts of magazines and rating things out there for colleges and university, like the Princeton Review. I didn't use any of them when I made my decision to come here to Drexel. However, the one thing that I do like is the USGA, the Undergraduate Student Association. The president of that at one point in the year did send out an email with a link to a Princeton Review survey. So I know that at least the Princeton Review does indeed actually survey students from here at Drexel and their thoughts about campus. As to what they do with student feedback, I don't know, so I can't vouch for those. I mean, if you want to use that kind of resource, by all means, go ahead. Results obviously may vary. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that the Princeton Review does nail us for that I know of is that we have an ugly campus, and that is actually to an extent true. There are some parts of campus that obviously are nicer than others, and others that aren't so nice. But yeah, to finish off the reasons why I came to campus is, again, the isomers. I mean, just look at this. We are literally a tiny building, inside Drexel, which is huge, and literally just a couple blocks from the city. So I like it because it's got the community feel while you're still in the large city. Not all colleges within Drexel are small, so if you can get into a learning community, I think that's a fair substitute. Another reason I chose it was, the city. Philadelphia is indeed a city, but it's not like as large as New York, but there is still plenty to do. There's plenty of museums and stuff, and as a student, a lot of times you will get a student discount. One of the programs that I know of, and this is in no way a sales pitch, but I do now work for them as the campus representative, is the Philadelphia Orchestra has a program called Easy Seat U, where for $25 you can go to unlimited concerts for the year, and there's well over 100 of them, so that's one thing that I love doing. It's a fantastic building. The music they play is regularly fantastic. They have college nights and stuff like that. There's things called First Friday. We're in Old City, like shops and museums, that kind of stuff. Or art galleries will have their doors open, and you can go buy something. If you're over 21, there's beverages and stuff, and even if you're under 21, there's like snacks and stuff, so that's one thing to do. There's like restaurant week. I forget where on that is because that usually depends on the month. There's all kinds of things, like just this past week we had a ton of events going on. We had the Philadelphia International Festival of the Arts, Philly Science Week, Drexel's inauguration, Book Week. So in the spring and summer there's a lot of stuff going on. In the fall and winter maybe not as much, but for the most part there is usually something going on campus. So it is easy enough, to get out of the dorm to go do something. As a freshman, one of the things you'll get in a class called University 101, which is basically an introduction to, getting settled in the city and in Drexel. You get what's called a cultural passport, and it's a really great thing. It's got a series of museums and places to go in the city where you'll either get free admission or significantly reduced admission, and you get one of that. And even after that, whenever you're in the city, I have my Dragon card on me at all times because you're supposed to, and you never know when it'll get you into something as a student discount. A lot of museums will offer it. Some, the discount's significant enough that it's free, which of course is great. With SEPTA, there's a thing called, I believe it's TransPass or something like that, where you can where you buy it up to 2 months in advance. It's like about $100, but that gives you unlimited rides on SEPTA for a month. The other thing that Drexel is doing right now is we have a thing going on with Lucy, which is short loop through University City, where it goes through from 30th Street Station through our campus in Penns, and you just show your Dragon card and you can get on that. That's on a test run basis right now, so as if that'll continue in future years, I don't know. If you go to UPenn, you can just flash your card and go on at any time. I go to Drexel, so obviously, you know, if you go to Penn, that's your decision. But, you know, for the most part, we are on good terms with them, but there is, of course, university competition always going on. But, yeah, you know, for the most part, Drexel is a great university to go to. I'm definitely happy here. It's probably the first school I've ever been happy with going to. So I hope that despite this being probably well over an hour, and so I do apologize for that, I hope that this is a sufficient enough follow-up to my original video, my typical day at Drexel, which I shot in winter term. It's now spring term, I think we're on week 4. I forget. I hope that answered all your questions. Although since I did get on the weeks thing, the way that works, it's 10 weeks of classes, a week of final, and then you're off for about a week. So we're on a quarter system, which does kind of suck if you've got friends from high school. When you move to Drexel, because of the way our schedule is, it might be difficult to see them, but you know, you'll meet plenty of people here, and overall, it is a nice campus. So I'm gonna start walking back to my dorm now. So hopefully this answered any questions, that especially the one person who asked me the question to begin with. I hope this has answered everything that you wanted to know, and since this is a follow-up for all of YouTube, if anyone watches this and if anyone has any questions about life at Drexel at all, you know, feel free, by all means, to leave a comment on any of my videos about life at Drexel, or to send me a personal message. I'll do my best to respond in a timely fashion, but because this is Drexel and things move fast, you know, my time is busy. But yeah, by all means, if you ask me any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. So if there's anything you want me to go into greater detail about, yeah, by all means, I will do my best to answer them. And since I am just one person and I'm just IT, that is what I'm going to know the most about. If you have questions about parties in the city, because you like to, you know, chug a few on a Friday night, that is not something I can answer, not for legality reasons, but because I can't and do not drink, so that's stuff I don't know about, but there are those, yes, typically on UPenn's campus. You know, but yeah, since you're obviously getting a biased viewpoint from it just being me, I definitely encourage you, if you haven't, you know, come here to Drexel yourself to see the campus. Definitely, if you're thinking about applying to Drexel, or if you haven't accepted to here, definitely come here to campus and see it for yourself. That's probably the best way to know if we're the right fit for you or not. Hopefully, obviously, we will be the right fit for you. If not, you know, that's totally up to you. Drexel, for the most part, we are very welcoming. So, yeah, if you ever want to see campus, there's open houses, like all the time going on. You can also do things where you can, I believe, shadow a person in a specific major. So if you're interested in a specific major, you can, of course, do that. Spend a day or two with someone from that major and get an inside look as to how their life is. I think on our admissions site, there's like student blogs. I don't know if the administration censors those or not, but that might be something you want to take a look at. I know some departments and stuff around here have like Facebook and Twitter pages. Those are other things to look for. You know, if you're watching this, that probably means that you have an internet connection. So, you know, obviously shop around. I obviously suggest Drexel, but Drexel is obviously not going to be right for everyone. But if Drexel is something that you've been thinking about attending, I hope that you'll find this video and any other videos I do about here on campus helpful. And if you do think that, let me know. If not, also let me know. So again, yeah, if you have any feedback or questions, feel free to share them. I'll do my best to answer your questions, your feedback. So that's it for now. Maybe see you sometime later. So that's it.